and actually want Putin to keep what he's stolen would be unthinkable. I mean, I think, for example, well, hang on. I think very well. Okay, you can answer, but I'll add this to
you, man, but I'm not going to allow you to categorize.
Well, let me add this to it.
Allow you to categorize.
So Benny Johnson wrecks Piers Morgan on his own show, Piers Morgan Uncensored, where, you know what, don't really talk about wars often, but Benny Johnson did a good job, and it's actually coming from where, you know, they talk about the conflicts happening around the world right now, and it's like a lot going on the ground in Eastern Europe and with the Eastern European war that's escalating because Joe Biden is allowing for certain missiles to go into the land where Putin is president of, and like that was a part of it and stuff, but it's not what Benny Johnson and Piers Morgan are talking about. But Benny Johnson does, you know, destroy Piers Morgan because Piers Morgan keeps trying to say that, you know, what Republicans don't want to stop the dictator from taking over, basically making the point that why America should keep, you know, staying out of this conflict and getting involved in it and with other wars. So Benny Johnson shuts them down by saying that, you know, talking about, you know, American first and firstborn and all that. So we're going to go again into this debate with Piers Morgan and Benny Johnson. And if you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead, smash the like button, share the video for our White Cultures Media. And if you haven't done so already, enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates.
I don't agree about this, but explain to me, I mean, your position, I'm going to miscategorize it, but I think your position is the kind of making America great theme means that America should put itself and its own interests first, and those interests do not include racing to the defense of a country thousands of miles away that's already had a lot of billions of American money poured into it and can't defeat the enemy anyway. Is that broadly where you sit?
Yes. And if you go talk to the progressive left, or if you go talk to anyone at a MAGA rally, they'll tell you the exact same thing. This is one of the most unifying issues in America right now, is that Americans are done having our greatest treasure, which is the lives of Americans, poured into countries that are not our own, defending territories and borders that are not our own. And then other treasures of Americans, like our national debt, our actual monies, being spent to the tune of $35 trillion in debt. What is that going to leave our children? It certainly hasn't made the world a safer place, Piers. And I'll say this, it is suicidal for Joe Biden on his way out to sabotage a peace that President Trump has promised to bring to this region. And I hope he does, because an ugly peace is better than a hot war. For Joe Biden to say that American missiles should be lobbed into the heart of Russia. Would you stand for it if Russian missiles were being lobbed into the Midwest? I certainly wouldn't.
Well, Russian missiles, well, hang on. Russian missiles are being lobbed indiscriminately into a European sovereign democratic country. They've also just recruited 10,000 North Korean soldiers to join the war. And I'm just curious, Benny, genuinely curious. I hear you, yes, and I respect your opinion. Genuinely curious, if you went back 25, 30 years, the idea that Republicans would be happy for a Russian dictator helped by North Korea to invade a sovereign democratic European country and actually want Putin to keep what he's stolen would be unthinkable. I mean, I think, for example, well, hang on. I think very well. Okay, you can answer, but I'll add this to
you, man. But I'm not going to allow you to categorize.
Well, let me add this to it.
Allow you to categorize it that way. Nobody's happy about this.
I will, but let me.
Putin's an
Hang on, let me finish.
He's a dictator.
Let me finish.
And nobody likes this war. I don't want this war to happen.
But let me
finish. I don't want this war to be won by. I don't want this war to be happening at all. I want there to be peace. I want people to stop dying.
Yeah.
Much like Israel and Gaza, I want peace. I do not want this to drag on so that it creates a nuclear conflict that might draft my children or your children into another war. You have military-age sons, Piers. Would you want them to fight in Ukraine?
Yeah, but the point I was going to make before you interrupted me was...
But would you? Would you like for your sons, you have military-age sons, you want them to go fight in Ukraine?
I will answer that question in a moment. But what I will say to you first was what I was trying to say before you jumped in, which was, what is the difference, just ideologically, when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait? Kuwait wasn't a NATO country. Why did Desert Storm happen? Why did General Norman Schwarzkopf, encouraged by every Republican I've ever met in my life, encourage the removal of Saddam Hussein from Kuwait? What is the difference? You were basically supporting Kuwait's right to defend itself and to have freedom from a rampaging dictator from Iraq. Why the different rules now? What change?
There's so much that's changed, especially in the policy of the Republican Party, which is where I thought you were going with this, Piers, which is why I cracked a smile, because the Republican Party itself has now taken a stance against neocons. I would argue probably the worst decision Kamala Harris made on the campaign trail, and that's a long list. Piers, I wonder if you'd agree with me on this, is to bring Liz Cheney on the trail with her.
Totally agree.
And to say, Liz Cheney is going to be my Secretary of Defense.
Totally agree.
You go and say that to Arab communities in Michigan, and you wonder why you lose Michigan.
Yeah.
I think it's suicidal. I think people are done with neocon ideology. And to your point about Saddam Hussein, I'll say the same thing that I'll say about Putin. I'll say the exact same thing. These are dictators. They're bloodthirsty. I don't think they're to be trusted. I don't like these actions. But let me tell you, I am an American first. I was born on this soil. This is my country. I am a Native American. I'm born here. My grandparents were born here. I do not want my children, and I have 4, Piers, to die for Iraq. I don't want my children to die for Afghanistan or die fighting ISIS or Russia in Ukrainian soil. I think that is antithetical to the founding of this nation and antithetical to our great founding father, George Washington, who warned in his last declaration to the American people as he was leaving office, do not get embroiled in foreign entanglements. It's the destroyer of nations.
Okay,
you know what? I keep hearing the word dictator being thrown around in this debate right here. No one wants to talk about what's going on in Ukraine and stuff. I'm not talking about what the Russian war, Ukraine war and everything. I'm talking about what's happening in the country of Ukraine itself. When's the last time that they've done the election? Is the election, finished? Has it been completed? Or has it been stopped, basically? I'll tell you what. Let's just say that Zelensky is well beyond his term and everything, and they had to stop the elections and stuff because of the fact that they call it martial law and everything. But simple fact of the matter is, no one's wanted to talk about that, and the people in Ukraine want to talk about it. But the thing is, that's being hushed up and stuff. No one outside of Ukraine doesn't want to talk about it either. And the fact of the matter is, no one wanted this war to start in the first place. Okay, yes. Russia invaded Ukraine, but also because of the fact that, Ukraine was looking to go ahead and push back against Russia, and also with the whole thing, deal with NATO and everything, which is basically another story for another day. But here's the issue that's happening here. You see, Benny Johnson is actually absolutely right. Piers Morgan seems to be either playing devil's advocate or being really misinformed or not informed at all of what's actually happening over in these regions and stuff. And the fact of the matter is, Ukraine is getting slaughtered over something that they shouldn't have done in the first place. Yes, Russia invaded, but at the same time, they knew better than to go ahead and try to square up against, Russia and stuff. And I didn't want Russia to actually go ahead and get involved with it. But let's be real here. The Ukrainian citizens, Ukraine did their citizens bad and everything. And that's something that no one in the NATO countries want to talk about. So that's the issue right there. And you know what? No one actually wants this war to be happening at all. So let's go ahead and get into this Benny Johnson and Piers Morgan discussion.
With the British Empire,
Benny?
Piers, sorry to. We've seen it with the British Empire. We've seen it with every empire that has existed, with the Roman Empire, all the way through. And I think we should follow these wise words. And
one final point to you before I go to the others, which is, if a deal was done and Putin got to keep the land he's stolen, along with Crimea, and his next action is to go and invade Poland, just as Nazi Germany did in 1939, what should America do in that position, given that Poland is part of NATO?
Again, that would be suicidal for Russia because Poland is part of NATO, and then they would.
But what should America do?
Well, Article 5 would be enacted.
What do you think morally America should do in that eventuality?
I will have to leave it up to the military minds. Some of them are on this panel. I'll say this, and this is my stance permanently, Piers, which is that an ugly peace in the Ukrainian war, an ugly peace, and virtually in all situations, an ugly peace is better than a hot war.
Okay, maybe.
Here's the thing. No one asks about, everyone's talking about Putin invading these different countries and stuff. What about the fact that the matter is what they've promised Russia back then, that there will not be a NATO expansion? What happened over the decades? NATO expanded, even towards Russia. They expanded eastward, okay? And Ukraine got a backing from NATO and stuff. So the simple fact of the matter is that all these establishment shows like Piers Morgan and everything, they're going ahead and try to do like a lot of pushback and stuff, saying how talk about Putin this and Putin that, but at the same time, they don't want to address what NATO was doing and stuff over the years and stuff, trying to push back. Now, simply, I'm not, siding with Russia or anyone and stuff, but Russian is actually correct in accusing NATO of, trying to expand eastward and stuff rather than just staying put. Okay. Russia doesn't want to be pushed back on. They don't want any European lands to try to take over any of that. Russia just simply wants to stay independent. Russia simply wants to exist. And that's it. No, that's simply it right there. And Benny Johnson, now he did make a good point on like, he's not going to, address any military issues and stuff. He's going to leave that up to people in the military. He's just basically saying there that there's people out there who doesn't want to get into don't want America involved in these kind of situations and stuff. And he's not going to answer to that because, well, quite frankly, he's not in the military. He doesn't want his children to go ahead and die on these different foreign lands and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, the problem is we got people who are higher ups and stuff making these decisions for us and stuff, and something that we don't want to get ourselves involved in. Okay. So yeah, let me know your thoughts about that in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you might have on this particular topic. If you enjoyed what I said in this video, go ahead, smash the like button, share the video far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications so that way you'll be notified future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.